Hello, welcome back. Now we can get into the real stat scraping. We open a match window to have a look at what we shall need. First off, we shall need the names of the participant teams. For that case, we right-click against the first team name and inspect the element. Though not mandatory, we send the console to the right, then hover through to a line that highlights the parent most div for this particular element. We also do the same for the away team. We collect the most appropriate class names and paste them to a notepad window. For the pseudo-element selector, we also look for the child to the located elements. Hovering through the inspector window highlights the corresponding element and makes our work easier. We pause code execution for about 2 seconds, to allow the privacy box to fully load within the secondary window. After loading, we can then hide it off using one of the lines used before, as the ID names are the same. Next, we look for the H2H button ID and instruct Selenium to click on it. We pass it as a string to the findElementById function. Next, we assign the name of the first team to a variable. Selenium shall look for the team name using the pseudo-element selector which we paste from Notepad. Then we shall find the inner HTML value of the element, which is the childmost element in the tree and essentially the textual content. We also do the same for the second team. We now move to scraping the match scores. Our pseudo-element selector will begin searching from the larger head-to-head table. By hovering through, we get the appropriate parent element. All tables share the class name, head-to-head, so we will use the class names unique to each one. For this case, it's H2H_mutual. Next, we move downwards to the first table row. All rows share a common class name, highlight. Alternative rows also share a class name, even or odd. For the particular case, we will use the class name highlight with an nth child selector. We move deeper into the element tree, and right before the score values, there is a class by the name score. We note that down. Next, we introduce another try block since not all match entries will have a head-to-head history. So, in case the same is found, we will store the score values in the variable. We pass our pseudo-element selector as a string to the find element by CSS selector function and instruct Selenium to fetch the value it finds at the bottom of the element tree. If a head-to-head entry is not found, the exception block will simply ignore and move to the next code block instead of logging an error on the output shell, hence the pass. In the next try block, we use the nth child to selector, which instructs Selenium to move to the second element with the class name of highlight within the h2h_mutual table. We repeat the try except block 3 more times, each time incrementing the nth child value by 1. For the purpose of testing, we shall run the application and instruct it to print the value of 5th row. The privacy box is resilient this time. Upon running the application, we get an error. In coding, that's quite anticipated. The error thrown is a no such element found error, and the error has caused a chain of additional errors to occur. Then scrolling downwards, we find the reason why. Apparently, the privacy box is obscuring our program from finding the match entry hidden behind it. Counting from the first match entry, we find the mentioned 14th element, which is precisely the Australia I-League match, which was obscured. So the solution is to increase freeze time that the program takes waiting for the privacy box to load. From 1 second to maybe 2, then run the program. This time we run into no errors. Within the score tags was the styling element, strong, used to bold an element. It was scrapped alongside our score. We'll see how to remove the same in a short while. Next, we need to scrap the team names. So, we will go back to the head-to-head table and follow on with the highlight row, with the pseudo-class selector, then focus on the table data element with the class name, name. But then we have two elements with the class name, name. So we need to be more specific. The element with home team name is the third child of its parent, the highlight column. So we pass the nth child selector and the 3 as an argument. And the data we want is stored in the span tags. The away team's name is stored as a fourth child of the parent element. We introduce a try-except block, since we are not sure every match entry will have a head-to-head entry, then feed the CSS selector to the find element by CSS selector method. The team name will be stored in a variable, first one. The winning team will have its name enclosed in the strong tag. We can strip the tags off using the replace method. The replace method in our case replaces the strong tag with nothing, since we have an empty string as replacement. We also replace the closing strong tag with an empty string. We do the same for the away team. If the head-to-head entry does not exist, or an element does not exist error is thrown, we simply ignore the same and move on to the next entry. We paste the blocks 4 more times, carefully replacing variable names and arguments within the selectors. Also, remember to appropriately tab the blocks as required. We'll now print the team names with some additional hyphens just for readability. Next, we will take the score values and strip any spaces and characters other than numbers using Python's regex. But first, we'll have to import the regex or re module. We'll discuss the re module in a later video. Essentially, the sub method takes only the numbers comprising the score, that is, any character which is a number from 0 to 9, and leaves out the opening and closing strong tags, the full colon, and the white spaces. The variable res stores an array which comprises of the scores by the home team and scores from the away team separated by a comma. The variable a, b separates the elements of the array, and a is assigned the first element, while b the second element. We can then print both a and b alongside the team names. We then paste the block 4 more times, being careful to appropriately change the variable names. We'll get the aggregate goals for the last 5 head-to-head matches and store them in a variable, total T, and print the same. Next, we run the code. We get results, but we still have an output enclosed in the strong tag. We remove that. It was the interim score output that we had forgotten to remove. Finally, we run our code and the scrapping goes just fine. We get the results. However, upon close inspection, you'll observe that one entry has been duplicated. This is because we did not refresh the variables after the for loop iteration. So, we'll do exactly that. We'll get the major variables and assign them a value of 0 after outputting the required values, that is, before going into another iteration. So now we have it, a functioning scraper for flashscore.com. The algorithm will work just fine as long as you have a stable internet connection and FlashScore does not change the layout of their website. However, with software, updates are bound to happen after some time. So, subscribe to keep posted for future videos, whose aim would be to keep up with any changes on the site. And to get notified of our subsequent uploads, click on the bell icon. Check out our other in-depth Python videos and see just how useful Python is. Stay safe.